Anne of Avonlea is the second novel in Lucy Maud Montgomery's cherished Anne series, first published in 1909. It follows the adventures of Anne Shirley as she transitions from adolescence to young adulthood. No longer the imaginative 11-year-old orphan we met in Anne of Green Gables, Anne is now 16, taking on new responsibilities as a teacher and community member while maintaining the same vibrant spirit and capacity for mishap that captured readers' hearts in the first book. This sequel not only continues Anne's story, but also expands the world of Avonlea, introducing new characters and highlighting the challenges of growing up, of finding one's place in society, and of balancing idealism with responsibility. The story begins with Anne Shirley at the age of 16, having completed her studies at Queen's Academy. Although she had once dreamed of attending Redmond College, she decides to remain at Green Gables to care for Marilla, whose eyesight is failing. This decision also means that Anne will begin teaching at Avonlea School, marking her first step into adult responsibilities. Anne approaches teaching with the same energy and imagination she brings to everything in her life. But she quickly learns that teaching is not as simple as she imagined. Her students range widely in temperament, from the mischievous Anthony Pye, who resists all authority, to earnest pupils who adore her. Anne strives to inspire them, but she often finds herself tested, realizing that idealism alone cannot solve the practical challenges of discipline and instruction. Parallel to Anne's new role, Marilla takes in two young twins, Davy and Dora Keith, after the death of their mother. Dora is quiet, obedient, and almost too well-behaved, while Davy is mischievous, curious, and often exasperating. Anne and Marilla take on the task of raising them, and much of the story's humor and warmth comes from Davy's antics, ranging from small lies and misadventures to moments of surprising honesty and affection. Anne also becomes deeply involved in community life. Along with her friends Diana Barry, Gilbert Blythe, and several others, she helps form the Avonlea Village Improvement Society, a group dedicated to beautifying the village and promoting civic pride. The society's projects, however, do not always succeed. There are missteps, such as painting the town hall an unfortunate shade of blue, but these failures highlight the gap between youthful idealism and real-world results. Several new characters enter Anne's circle during this time. Mr. Harrison, a somewhat gruff and eccentric new neighbor, at first seems unfriendly and blunt. Anne, with her characteristic imagination, even believes him capable of dark secrets. But over time, she discovers that he is good-hearted and loyal, especially to his beloved parrot, Ginger, who often startles visitors with rude remarks. Another memorable addition is Miss Lavendar Lewis, a sweet and somewhat whimsical woman living in seclusion at Echo Lodge. Anne befriends her and eventually plays a role in reuniting Miss Lavendar with her former fiancé, Stephen Irving. Their rekindled romance and eventual marriage add a romantic subplot that complements Anne's youthful journey. The novel continues with a series of episodes and vignettes that showcase Anne's growth. She struggles with her teaching, but gradually earns the respect of her students. She experiences failures, such as when her attempt to discipline Anthony Pye backfires, and triumphs, such as when she learns to connect with children through patience and understanding. At home, she learns how to manage Davy's endless curiosity and mischief, balancing firmness with compassion. Anne's friendship with Gilbert Blythe continues to develop. While romance is not at the center of this novel, hints of a deeper bond between them are woven throughout the narrative. Their shared work in the Village Improvement Society and their mutual support in academic and community life show that their relationship is maturing, setting the stage for future developments in later books. The climax of the story comes in several subtle ways rather than a single dramatic event. The most significant changes happen internally, as Anne realizes that maturity involves accepting imperfection, understanding others, and finding joy in small, everyday responsibilities. The resolution of Miss Lavendar's romance, the progress of Anne's teaching, and the gradual taming of Davy's wild energy all serve as gentle closures that reflect this theme. By the end of the novel, Anne is more grounded than she was at the beginning. She has not lost her imagination or her optimism, but she has learned that real life requires patience, resilience, and compromise. Avonlea is still her beloved home, but her experiences have broadened her understanding of the world and of herself. Anne of Avonlea is often seen as a transitional novel. It does not have the same tightly focused arc as Anne of Green Gables, which centered on Anne's arrival at Green Gables and her adjustment to a new family and community. Instead, this second book is more episodic, consisting of smaller stories that collectively paint a picture of Anne's moves into adulthood. The result is a work that emphasizes character development, community life, and the rhythm of rural existence over high drama. One of the strongest themes in the book is the contrast between idealism and practicality. Anne begins the novel with high hopes for her teaching, her community projects, and her ability to influence those around her. Time and again, her grand visions meet obstacles, whether in the form of unruly students, skeptical villagers, or the stubborn realities of daily life. Yet, instead of abandoning her ideals, Anne learns to adapt them. She discovers that true improvement and progress come from persistence and small steps, rather than sweeping gestures. This is reflected most clearly in her teaching, where she eventually wins over Anthony Pye, not through force or authority, but through understanding and consistent fairness. The addition of Davy and Dora Keith provides another layer to the novel's exploration of responsibility. Through them, Anne learns what it means to care for children in a sustained, maternal way. Dora, with her perfect behavior, is almost too easy to raise, but Davy constantly challenges Anne and Marilla's patience. His curiosity often pushes boundaries, leading to humorous and sometimes dangerous incidents. Yet beneath his mischief lies a deep need for affection, which Anne and Marilla gradually provide. The twins symbolize the unpredictability of life, showing Anne that growth often happens through dealing with difficulties rather than through ideal scenarios. The Avonlea Village Improvement Society highlights the youthful enthusiasm of Anne and her peers, as well as the limits of their influence. Their projects often fail, but their failures are gentle lessons in humility and perseverance. Montgomery uses these episodes to illustrate how communities grow, not only through successes, but also through shared mistakes, laughter, and the bonds of working together. Miss Lavender's story adds a romantic and nostalgic dimension. She represents what Anne might have become if she allowed her imagination to drift into permanent escapism. Living in a fairy tale-like cottage, Miss Lavender has avoided reality for many years, but her eventual reconciliation with Stephen Irving brings her back to the present. For Anne, Miss Lavender serves as both a kindred spirit and a cautionary tale, reminding her that imagination should enrich life, not replace it. Gilbert Blythe's presence in the story, while not dominant, is significant. His steady reliability and quiet support for Anne provide a subtle backdrop for the gradual evolution of their relationship. Readers who notice the small hints will recognize that Montgomery is preparing the foundation for Anne and Gilbert's eventual romance. Overall, Anne of Avonlea is less about external adventures and more about internal growth. It portrays the universal process of adolescence turning into adulthood, with all the trials, small triumphs, and self-discoveries that come along the way. Montgomery's gentle humor, vivid descriptions of Prince Edward Island, and warm portrayal of community life ensure that even the smaller episodes carry charm and meaning. Anne of Avonlea is a story of growth, responsibility, and the balance between dreams and reality. It shows Anne Shirley not only as the imaginative girl readers loved in the first book, but also as a young woman learning to navigate the real world with patience, humor, and resilience. Through her teaching, her role in the community, and her life at Green Gables, Anne learns that true fulfillment lies not in grand achievements alone, but in the steady, loving care of others and the willingness to face life's imperfections with grace. For readers, the the book remains a comforting exploration of small-town life, filled with humor, warmth, and timeless lessons about maturity and community. If you enjoyed this summary and analysis, consider subscribing to the channel for more literary explorations and book discussions.